Hey, I'm back, and today I want to talk about a software called Midi Guitar 2. If you don't know about this software, it's basically the second version of Midi Guitar, which is software that allows you to play synthesizers, samplers, etc. with your guitar. So one of the great things about this is finally you don't need hardware to do this. So this is kind of like a major step forward in guitar playing as far as I'm concerned. But let's check it out and see how it works. So I've had this for a few months now, and this software is still in beta. So basically, it's still in beta, but it works as a fully functioning product. I'll open it up and I'll show you what it does. So we open it up here. We see it has like the basic setup. Down here, first we look at the waveform view. So let me play something. So you may not be able to hear my guitar, but as you see at the bottom, it shows the waveform view, so that shows you what the waveform looks like. Chord wheel, if I play C major, everything lights up and it shows you what chord I'm playing. G major. I don't know why that's useful, but it probably is for some reason. None if you just don't want to see anything. And last, the polyphonic tuner. So if I hit my E string, it tells me if I'm in tune, which I'm somewhat in tune. And it's even polyphonic, so I can C major chord or G major chord. You can tune things by a chord. So that's kind of cool. There's not too many things out there that actually have polyphonic tuners, so that's kind of a useful thing. But if we look up here, it's a noise gate, so if your guitar is noisy, you can cut that out so you're not getting glitches from noise. The tuning, depending on what tuning you're using. Polyphonic if you're playing chords, you can set it to monophonic if you're playing lead lines. Velocity gain, this just says like how much velocity is going to be sent to the synthesizer. It's similar to volume, but it's really not. Velocity tone, this one is really useful actually. So this one, if I set it in the middle to 50, you see this area here, all these notes are even, meaning across the range from low notes to high notes, they'll be played in equal volume. If I do it like this, the low notes will be really loud, and as I move up, the high notes will get softer. And this is the opposite way. Low notes will be soft, high notes will be loud. And you can kind of adjust that depending on your guitar. Usually on the guitar, maybe the low notes will probably be a little bit louder than the high notes, but of course this depends on the guitar, and it also will depend on the synthesizer you're using, because some instruments, the higher you play, the louder the instrument is, and some instruments, the higher you play, the softer it is. So just adjust that however you want. The compression, this isn't like a normal compression like in a pedal. Basically all this does is, if you're playing something and like you notice like, hey, some of my notes are really loud and some of my notes are really soft, this will just take these notes, the velocities that you're sending to your synthesizer, and it will make them closer together. So the loud notes will become a little bit softer and the soft notes will become a little bit louder. And you have different ways, like very soft, just do a little bit, soft a little bit more, hard will do a lot, and very hard will do a whole lot. Pitch bends, this software does allow pitch bends. You can set the range. It defaults at, I think, 2, I believe, but I usually set it at 12. I think it works better that way. Pitch shift, this is how you can set it. If you set it at 1, if I play a C on my guitar, I'll play a C sharp in the software. Next one, octave shift. If I do this, it moves up 12 steps, so I can play octave higher, 2 octaves higher, 1 octave lower, and 2 octaves lower. So this is really useful if you're playing like a bass sound. So if I play it, just with the normal notes, it'll play on the bass, but it'll sound really high. And if you move it down like that, using the -1, it'll play in the bass range, and you'll get those low notes, which is what you want. Aftertouch, this is a MIDI thing. You can use it, but don't worry about it too much. The sustain pedal is another MIDI thing, usually used by pianos, but don't worry about it too much. Create MIDI machines and MIDI machines. These are just like effects, like MIDI effects. Like it'll have a arpeggiator, or you can add a bass note below it, or you can use a harmonizer or a MIDI delay, or whatever you want. There's all sorts of things you can do with that. It's somewhat useful, actually. But enough talking, let's get into the sounds. So, first one, electric piano. So, let me just play this for a second. Actually, I'm playing it an octave down. Let me play it up higher. So, there you go. That's the electric piano. The next one is actual piano. That's the normal piano they have that comes with it. There's variations on these too, like you can see compressed, broken, etc. There you go. It's glitching a little bit. You can hear it. It's not quite perfect. There's sometimes a few extra notes kind of ringing out there, or in that case, kind of tremeloing in and out. Sorry, I think there it kind of glitched because I was using too much power. I have screen capture software and a bunch of other things going, so that may not happen with you. And also, if you adjust this, sometimes you can get it to respond better to your playing. I'm not going to lie and say this is perfect because it's not. Sometimes there are tracking errors, and one thing is you kind of have to adjust your playing a little bit to suit it, but for the most part, it's good, I think. Here's a synthesizer. I think it's based on an analog synthesizer. So. Turn that up a little bit. I'll play a few more from this. Let's try Echo Pad. Let's try, let's see, analog bass. That's kind of a cool one. Now I'll try one more. Let's try the bass clarinet. Doesn't really sound all that much like a bass clarinet to me, but it's not bad. Let's move on to the MDA DX. This is kind of a Yamaha DX sound, the old FM synthesizer. Electric piano sound doesn't really sound that much like an electric piano. Let's try a space pad. That one's okay. Well, maybe not, but it's alright. And let's try one more. Try the horn. I messed that up there. I haven't played that in a while. Sorry. Anyways, so that gives you a taste of what these sound like. So all four of these come with the software. So if you don't have any other synthesizers or something, you can use these and you'll be perfectly fine. You don't need anything else. So that's a good thing if you're not, really into synthesizers yet, but you kind of want to try it out. I'll show you something else. Let me see. What else do I have here? I have tons of synthesizers. I'll try to show you one. String Studio. So this is a third-party synth. It's based on physical modeling. So let's see. It basically you can get different string sounds here. So here's an arpeggiator. So if I just play a chord like this. So you don't even have to do anything. It arpeggiates things for you. So I guess that's useful in some senses. Let's see here. Let's try keys. Pop rock clavinet. Probably be down an octave and I need a wah there, but that gives you an idea of what it sounds like. Let's see, what else do they have in here besides that? Celestia. I don't know how to pronounce that. You probably shouldn't be sliding like I just did. That doesn't sound very good. But there's all sorts of things in here. You probably don't want to hear all of these. I'll try to play another one. Ancient Twang. Another thing you find with these synthesizers is some of the sounds are going to play really easily, and you think, wow, this is great. And then some of them, they just fight against you, and they seem like they don't want to work. So that kind of has to do with the programming. It's not really the MIDI guitar software. It's more the programming and whoever designed the specific patch for the synth. So there's all sorts of stuff in here, but let's not go into all that because it's not really that important. I'll switch to a different sound though. Let me try synth. Okay, that one's okay. So not only can you do that, but you see guitar and amp here. If I have some other program like Amplitude or S-Gear or Ampline Pro in this case, I can take this and I can open something in here. So let's try the lead default. So here. So that's just an amp simulator. And so I can blend these together. So sorry about that, my tablet's beeping. If you see here, this is the blend knob. So here's about 50%. So you can hear it mixes the guitar with the synthesizer, and you can control how much it does that. I'm hearing some noise there, so I'm going to turn this off. And also, you see here there's FX, so you can add external effects like flanger, chorus, whatever you want, delay. Same thing here with reverb. You can add a reverb impulse response, a cabinet impulse response if you're playing guitar. And it does all sorts of things. I'll show you a little bit with the MIDI machines. I'll show you what one of them does. It has an arpeggiator, just like I told you before, but it also has an harmonizer. So if I do this, and let's say key of C. So with this on, it does this. So that's kind of cool. It harmonizes things for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. That's kind of a cool thing. But now I'll show you something with me playing this, and you can see how it tracks by watching it. I know here you can't see my fingers, so here we go. I want to show you how to set this up to use this in your computer. Of course, you can do it just like that, just like I just showed you. But one of the problems is it might record the audio, but it doesn't record the MIDI. And the MIDI is really what you want, because let's say you're playing this solo and you have a synthesizer sound. It sounds great, but there's one part where it has a little glitch in there. It's really difficult to edit that out in audio, but in MIDI, it's really easy. Or let's say like, I played everything perfect except for one note. In MIDI, you can fix that note, you can change it, you can make it softer, you can make it louder, you can change the timing, all sorts of things. So it's really great to be able to do that, but let me show you how to do that first. The first time I did this with Midi Guitar, I thought like, okay, I'll just make a MIDI track here like this and have Synth Master here as my synthesizer, and I'll go in here and I'll route this to my Midi Guitar 2 output, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't figure out how to do it. But what you have to do is go into here where it says VST. It says enable MIDI output. Now, if I go into the same MIDI channel here, it says Midi Guitar 2. I just go to Omni like that, and now it will output from Midi Guitar 2 to the MIDI channel. And then that channel will go to Synth Master. So if I do it now, it should play. That's an interesting sound. And so that's coming from this software called Synth Master. If you don't know about this is a really cool synthesizer. It basically has all sorts of presets. It can do multiple synthesis types, and it sounds really good. I'll go over it. So if you're like me, you probably like prog rock. So this one, it has a bunch of presets for progressive rock. Let me turn some of these things off. Off. And so you can see here, like, as Common Man, if you know ELP, this is an ELP song. Jerusalem, this is another ELP song. Common Man, Carnival number 9, another ELP. Blade Runner, this is from the movie, which I'm not that familiar with. I've never actually seen the movie Blade Runner, but this is the sound from it. I like that sound. And You and I by Yes. I know that sounded a little bit strange in parts. This portamento, basically what this does is it slides from one note to another, and if you play fast, it can't slide fast enough, so it sounds like you're just playing out of tune. Let's turn it up. So yeah, if you start playing fast, it just sounds like a bunch of out-of-tune nonsense. Okay, it sounded like a ghost was talking. Here we go. Next is From the Beginning. This is one of my favorite synth sounds of all time. It comes from an ELP song called From the Beginning. Glitched a little bit, but overall I thought it was pretty good. But I just love that sound. Let's check out here. I didn't show it here, but let's enable the pitch bend so you can hear this. So now I'll bend up. So it actually can do pitch bends. And now I'll show you, it can actually even do vibrato, although I think the vibrato is kind of so-so. It's not as controllable as I'd like, but still pretty good. I'll play one note with no vibrato. Seeing here, you can add a little vibrato, you can add some bends in there too, so you can be really expressive with this software, which is one of the things I really love about it. So don't think this is, just like, oh, it's a synthesizer, I have to play a bunch of EDM stuff with it. You can play whatever you want. And you can see here there's a bunch of other things. But if you're not into progressive rock, there are other things you can do with it. Don't think like, oh, you just have to use synthesizers. There's other sounds too. Keith's Ham. This is just like Keith Emerson's Hammond synthesizer. So if you know anything about ELP, you'll probably recognize this. So that's cool. Even if you don't like prog rock, you can use that for things like Deep Purple or whatever you want. Here's another one. That one responds kind of strangely. I think if you hit that one hard, it changes octaves. Here's one of my favorite. This is Keith's Ham 3. So I love that sound. That sounds really good. That sounds like, one of those old organs you'd hear in the 1970s or 1960s. It sounds great. But that's also good for things like Dream Theater, too. They use lots of those types of sounds. So, it's great. So don't think that, these things are only for electronic instruments. You can use, like, saxophones. There's a whole world out there of instruments you can use. And so, basically, to end it, I'll just talk about how I might use this. For this software, I'd probably use this if I wanted to record a solo with something and it's not a guitar. Like, I can't play trumpet well enough to do a trumpet solo, but I might be able to do it on the guitar. And one thing is, it probably won't sound authentic if I just play it like a guitar, but if I try to put some inflections in there and then afterwards tweak the MIDI, I might be able to get something that sounds somewhat like a trumpet. Another good thing you can use this for is for playing chords. So if you want some kind of synth pads in your song, it's much easier to just play them using your guitar and then edit any mistakes or anything you want to change than it is to program it. And the last one is a bass. So if you're playing bass, like if you're only doing one bar, of course you can program it yourself, and it's not that hard, although you have to change some of the timings and the velocity. But if you're doing like something that you can't repeat over and over again, like for example a jazz walking bass, it's a nightmare to program. So with this, you can just play it yourself, and even if there's a small mistake somewhere, you just correct it. It'll only take, a second or two. So that's where something like this is a lifesaver. And besides just speeding up your workflow, it's fun. There's a whole world out there of synthesizers and things you can mess around with. So I hope I went over everything. If I didn't, let me know. I'll be happy to answer any questions. And if you like this and you want me to do more reviews of things, let me know. And until next time, see you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that video, please remember to thumbs it up, check out some of my other videos below, and don't forget, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.